Good news has arrived for South African students who have been waiting anxiously for clarity around a possible increase in NSFAS funding following a major government announcement. A significant amount of money, totaling nearly R2 billion, has been recovered, and government has now outlined how these funds will be used to support students under the NSFAS scheme. While this development does not immediately translate into a direct increase in allowances, it carries far-reaching implications that could shape the future of student funding. To fully understand why this announcement is being described as one of the most positive developments of the year, it is important to pay close attention to how the recovered funds came about and how they are expected to be utilized. Please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more updates. Students are encouraged to follow the full story carefully, as the details reveal how long-standing challenges within the NSFAS system are being addressed. The announcement signals renewed efforts to restore trust, accountability, and stability in student financial aid, at a time when many students have lost hope in mop-up payments and future increases. NSFAS has confirmed that from 2026, payments will be made directly to accredited service providers, rather than being routed through institutions or third parties. This announcement coincides with another major development that has surprised many students who had already resigned themselves to delays and uncertainty. The Special Investigating Unit, SIU, has returned R1.7 billion to NSFAS, money that was recovered from universities, TVET colleges, and individuals who did not qualify for funding. This has raised pressing questions among students and stakeholders alike about how the funds will be used, whether to settle outstanding mop-up payments or to improve and possibly increase student grants. The recovered amount forms part of a broader R2 billion that the SIU has successfully reclaimed from universities, technical and vocational education and training colleges, as well as former NSFAS beneficiaries who were later found to be unqualified for the funding they received. This recovery effort follows years of concerns about the management of NSFAS funds and allegations that money intended for vulnerable students was either misallocated or left unused. According to information released by the SIU, the funds in question were unallocated between 2016 and 2021. During this period, large sums of money that had been earmarked for students were not properly redistributed after some beneficiaries changed institutions, deregistered, or no longer met the funding criteria. As a result, funds remained with institutions or were paid out to individuals who did not qualify, while thousands of deserving students struggled to secure financial support. In a statement issued on Wednesday, Higher Education Deputy Minister Budi Manamela confirmed that the recovered funds will now be redirected to meet the needs of deserving students across institutions of higher education and training. He emphasized that the recovery process is not just about reclaiming money, but about restoring public trust in the student funding system. The recovery of these funds is a significant step in restoring integrity, accountability, and public confidence in the administration of student financial aid. Every rand allocated to NSFAS is public money intended to support students from poor and working-class families, and it must be protected and used strictly for that purpose, Manamela said. This statement has resonated strongly with students and parents who have, for years, expressed frustration over delayed payments, administrative errors, and inconsistent communication from NSFAS. Many have argued that while funding allocations increased on paper, inefficiencies within the system meant that the intended beneficiaries did not always feel the impact. The SIU also commended NSFAS for taking concrete steps to strengthen its internal systems and move towards improved governance. According to the unit, changes implemented within NSFAS are beginning to show results, particularly in the way funds are tracked, verified, and dispersed. These improvements are expected to reduce future leakages and prevent a repeat of past mismanagement. Beyond recoveries from institutions, the SIU has also made progress in reclaiming funds directly from individuals. As part of the wider recovery effort, an amount of R126,478,184.64 has been collected from 1055 parents and former NSFAS beneficiaries who were found to be unqualified. These individuals signed acknowledgments of debt, agreeing to repay the money over a structured period. This process has been described as a critical component of ensuring fairness, as it addresses cases where public funds were accessed without meeting the required criteria. The SIU has further urged unqualified NSFAS beneficiaries who have not yet come forward to make contact with the unit and arrange repayment. This call underscores the seriousness with which government is approaching accountability and signals that efforts to recover misused funds are ongoing. For students currently enrolled or planning to enroll in 2026 and beyond, the announcement raises important considerations about how NSFAS will operate in the future. The decision to pay service providers directly is aimed at reducing delays and eliminating the role of intermediaries, which have often been blamed for late allowances and inconsistent payments. By streamlining the payment process, NSFAS hopes to ensure that accommodation, meals, and other essential services are paid for on time, allowing students to focus on their studies rather than financial uncertainty. While some students had hoped that the recovered funds would immediately translate into higher monthly allowances, officials have been careful to manage expectations. The redirection of funds is primarily intended to stabilize the system, clear outstanding obligations, and ensure that more qualifying students can be supported without disruptions. However, many observers believe that a more stable and accountable funding environment could, over time, create room for adjustments to funding levels. Manamela also reaffirmed his support for the SIU's mandate to investigate corruption, fraud, and maladministration within post-school education and training institutions. He emphasized that recovering financial losses suffered by the state is essential to safeguarding the future of student funding and ensuring that limited resources are used effectively. The broader significance of the recovery lies in what it represents for the NSFAS system as a whole. For years, NSFAS has been at the center of controversy, with recurring reports of unpaid allowances, incorrect defunding, and students being left stranded without accommodation. The recovery of nearly $2 billion sends a strong message that government is beginning to confront these challenges head-on. For many students from poor and working-class families, NSFAS is not just a bursary scheme, but a lifeline. Any disruption to funding can have immediate and devastating consequences, including dropping out of university or college altogether. By reclaiming and redirecting funds that were previously misused or left idle, government aims to expand access and reduce the number of students who fall through the cracks. As the 2026 academic year approaches, attention will increasingly shift to how these commitments are implemented in practice. Students, institutions, and the public will be watching closely to see whether the recovered funds translate into smoother registration processes, fewer payment delays, and improved communication from NSFAS. While challenges remain, the recovery effort and the planned changes to the payment system have introduced a renewed sense of cautious optimism. For students who have spent years navigating uncertainty, the announcement represents more than just reclaimed money. It signals a renewed focus on accountability and a recognition that student funding must be protected if higher education is to remain accessible to those who need it most. In this context, the recovered funds are not merely a financial correction, but a step toward rebuilding confidence in a system that millions of South Africans rely on. Whether this development ultimately leads to increased grants or allowances remains to be seen, but for now, it stands as one of the most significant and hopeful developments in the student funding space in recent years.